in Java, we sometimes, one of the things that we need to generate, let me just create a package for the account like this. New class, then I'll call our class account, and I'll create a package for it. Account package. So I've created an account class, and account has which data, which it has balance, right? Type account type first. So you make this one's private. String account type, then private double balance. So after typing these two data types, alt insert, you generate getters and setters. You select all of them. If you want for only one of them, you choose one. By this case, I want all of them, so I select all of them. Then I also generate my what? Constructor. So alt insert constructor. If I want default constructor, yes, I want the default constructor first. Then alt insert the parameterized constructor. Those ones too, I choose the ones I want to take. So I have this my simple class. It's left with the other two methods, the withdrawer, deposit, and print info. So that one I create my method. I create my method. Public for the withdrawer. They are not returning anything, right? They are all void. So void withdraw. Then it takes what? An amount. An amount is supposed to be what? Double. Then the same for the deposit. That one to takes an amount, which is double. Then the last one is what? What's the last one? Print account info. That one to void. So print, when you are naming methods, don't separate the name like this. Print account info. No, there can't be any white spaces in every language, not even only in Java. So you do it this way. Then this, I won't take anything. I'll just print it. Now for the logic, we already have our double up there. So for the withdrawal, I'll just say balance minus equal to what? Amount. Deposit balance plus equal to amount. Then the print, I'll just format it. SUT. Your balance on the account type. So plus ACC type. Get account type. Or I can just use the account type. Plus double quotes. Is so your balance on this account is then plus again the what? Balance. So this is what I was expecting. So you deposit up there. So you can either create an account class with the default constructor, then use the setter to set the attributes, or use the parameters constructor one time and set the values. So for the test, I'll create a test class, test account, then I will create two instances of the account. So account, account, maybe account 1, acc1 is equal to new what account. This is you don't type, you let it generate for you. So the first one, I'll use the default constructor. Then I want to set attributes of this one, so I'll just say account acc1 dot what set account type. So I'll set account type to savings. Savings account. Then account type dot what set balance to maybe 1,000. And note, if it's double, make sure you bring a decimal place. If you don't bring it, you see it as an integer. So 25. So this is account 1. Then I'll create another account AC2. This time I'll not use the setters and getter, I'll use the parameterized constructor. So new account, then I'll take the second one. Then I'll pass the account type to current. Then the balance is 3,000.0. So it's a current account and the balance is 3,000. The balance is 3,000. Now I can call the budget from here. So I created two objects. Account 1 and what? Account 2. So to test for our methods, if I want to make deposit, but before I continue, in Java, know this: all class directly or indirectly inherit from the object class. You have a super class or some great grandpappy or some old class which is in all Java classes, and you call that class what? The object class. Whether it inherits directly or not, you are a descendant of what? The object class. Every class in Java is of type what? Object. If I say it's of type object, it means directly or indirectly you inherit from what? The object class. How do you know that you inherit from the object class? You can see we've created this account object. When I press on, I just type account 1 dot, you can see, look at it, there's a deposit. This deposit returns this. Then there's an equals method. That equals method takes what? An object. This object is a class, and it's a super class of all the classes. In Java, when you say super class, it's the parent class or the base class. So this equals is coming from the object class. The hash code is also coming from the object class. This is coming from the object class. This is coming from the object class. And this weight and all these guys, they all come from the object class. Are you getting it? So even though within our account class, we didn't directly inherit from any object class, it is assumed or internally sent there for us. Your first class that you create automatically inherit from what? The object class. Then once you know that, and you can see there's a toString method here. Now in inheritance, one inherits from one class, you have the privilege of what? Overriding some methods. When I say override, it means a class inherits a method which I don't want the implementation of that method. So I inherit from that class and take the method and give it what? A different definition. There's a toString method that comes from the object class, and the function of the toString method is what? To print your class for you. It's just like a printer to your class. So it prints your class in its raw state. What do I mean by that? Assuming here I've created these two objects, I'll just sys out then here I'll print all the objects. So I'll print account 1, account 2. This is what I mean by printing. I'm printing the what? The current state of the object. Let's save it. Shift F6. You can see this is what you are getting. com.ai this account at this. Now this information that I'm getting as a result of printing this object, here you have two objects. This one object being referenced by what? Account 1. This is also another object being referenced by what? Account 2. And you are now printing the information about these things. This thing that you are getting here, you call it the hash code. Each object has a unique ID. Each object has a unique ID. So you can see, and I said yesterday that a class identified by what? Fully qualified name. And the fully qualified name starts from the what? The package level. So com.whatever down to the what? The class. So it's the same over here. It's the same over here. You can see this com.aiti.account. So it goes to the account. Then at 1F01B29 is different from what? 3A871BL. So each object is what? Unique. That's why you call them what? Instances of the what? The class. So they have a unique ID, and that ID we call it hash code. You have a method that generates the ID. You override those methods. But at the moment, if I print, this is what I want to do. When I print account 1, I want to see the current state of account 1. What kind of account it is, what's the balance. So in order to do that, we need to override a method. That method we call it toString in the class that you want to print the information about it. So I'll go to the account class, then that one to this is auto generated. When I say, you know, you understand when I say auto generated. So you can just type to s control space, it will come, or you go the usual way, alt insert toString, click. Then it will ask you which field do you want me to print. So I want to print what? The account type and the what? The balance. You can also type it yourself. So like this. So it's printing the what? Account type and the what? The balance. So now the same code, I'll save it, come to my test class, run it again. And this time you see what? Account type is equal to what? Savings. And the balance is equal to what? 1000 dot whatever. The same for the account, second account. Why? Because this toString method here, this is the function. You are saying that anytime someone wants to print an object of this class, start by printing what? Account, then this, then account type is equal to what? The type of the account. I can change this format to anything. I can just say display is equal to, then I return display. Then I will say balance is equal to, then plus balance plus account type is, then that one space to then plus AC type. When I save it, I'm specifying how it should print for me. So when the auto generated one, you don't like it, you can change how it should what? Print for you. So I say I want to this format. I come here, the same shift FS. Now you can see that balance is what? This. Account is what? This. Because of the what? The toString method. It's just like a printer for your class. So anyone who creates an object of the class will use this toString to print it. So that is the toString method. Then now that you have the toString method and you know how it works, from this time on, anytime you create your personal class, make sure you override the what? The toString method. What do I mean by override? You have an account, assuming the same center. I want to create a student account. I want to narrow the account, student account. So I come to create another class, student account. Then I want the student account. The student account to also have what? A balance and what? Account type. So there's no point in reinventing the wheel. So the best way is what? Inherit from what? The account class. So in the student account, I'll just use the what? Extends keyword. So I'll just say extends. That's how you inherit in Java. Extends account. So this one will extend what? Account. Now, when I extend from the account, in the account class, there are some method. You have the double and the deposit. And this is what I want to do. Assuming I'm a bank and I'm running a promotion, and I say anytime the student opens an account and deposits, I want to dash him what? 10 Ghana or 20 Ghana. Anytime someone deposits and that person is what? A student, I want to dash him what? 20 Ghana. So that means this deposit method here doesn't work for that student because it's the amount plus the 20 Ghana. So I need to change the implementation of this. And since the student account is coming from this, I need to what? Override it. That's what we call overriding. Overriding means changing the what? The method implementation from your super class or your parent class or your higher class. So this is how you go by it. And anytime you are overriding, if you don't want confusion, you can just copy the method from the super class and go and paste it and change the name. Or just as we did it to string, you start typing. The name is what? Deposit. So I'll first create a variable. So allowance for students. So private double allowance, private double allowance. Then for the allowance, that one I'll generate getters and setter for it. I'll generate getters and setter for the allowance. Then once I'm done, I want to override the what? The deposit method. So you just type deposit, control space. Then you can see the at override method coming here. It's telling you that you want to override the what? The one in the super class. Yes. When I press enter, you can see this at override. Anytime you see the at symbol, we call them annotations. Annotations in Java. They are Java code, but you are not writing them. At runtime, codes are being injected. So this at here, you see a lot of them. This at override means you're overriding the what? The class, the method coming from the super class. So here I have to change the implementation. And once you override, you can see there's what we call here super dot what? Deposit. Now this is how it works. In my in this account, student account, there's the super class is what? Account. So this is a super class. So if you are within a subclass and you want to call a method in your super class, use the super keyword. So super dot will call the what? A method in your super class. So this super dot, this thing will call the super class, but that's not what I want. I don't want to call the super class. It's only the withdrawal that I want to call the super class. So I will delete this. Then for the withdrawal too, if I want to override, it's the same thing with control space withdrawal. But this time I will maintain it because for the withdrawal, I want you to call the one? The super class. But for the deposit, this is what I will do. And note, in inheritance, one inherits from another class. You get access to all the what? Public and what? Protected members. Let me try and see. I'm trying to access the balance from this thing, but it's not here because balance is private to only the what? Account. So if I want to make it accessible to this class, what modifier should I use? Protected. So I'll go back to the account class. Then I want the student account to have access to this. So I'll make this guys protected. So I make it protected. I'll save it. Come here. Now this time when I type balance, I see the balance because it's taken from what? The super class, and it's protected, so I can have access to it in the what? In this class. Then I'll now say balance. This is what? So balance minus. Yeah, this deposit. So plus equal to what? Amount. But let me just. It's equal to balance. Let me do the long with balance plus amount. Or if I want to shorten it, it's very simple. Amount plus equal to amount plus the allowance. There's an allowance up there. So allowance. So I've added the allowance to what? The amount. Before I finally add the amount to what? The balance plus equal to amount. Are you getting it? The balance amount will be increased here by the what? The allowance. Then I'll add the amount to the balance. So now the balance of the student is different from what? A normal account. So if I set the balance for the student to be maybe 200, anytime I create a student object, then it will be 200 for every student account. Now, for setting the it's supposed to be this. Yes. I've brought the plus, so I thought it was already there. Are you getting it? You are adding the amount to the what? Allowance. Then we add the amount to the balance. I don't want it to be so long, so I'm just breaking them into smaller parts. Then I'll create a constructor. This one I can just, so in the test class, let me create a student account. So here, student account is equal to new student account. You can see there's no parameterized constructor, so there's no option for me to choose which constructor I want. There's only one, so I go by the default one. Then I want to set the allowance. So to set the allowance, I use the what? The setter. So I just say student account dot what? Set allowance. Then I want the allowance to be 500. So this one will set the allowance. This will set the allowance. Then finally, I want to deposit for the student. So to deposit, I'll just say student dot deposit. You can see the deposit is coming. I want to deposit 3,000. But just note, at this point, the student don't have any balance in his account. So you must set all those parameters. The student doesn't have all those things. Now to set that, this is what I will suggest. I will create a constructor for the student. I'll create a constructor. You know how to create it, right? Generate constructor. Then this time the constructor can see it's asking for the what? It's asking me whether I want to inherit from what? My super class. And yes, I want to inherit from the super class because the super class is already what? Setting the account and the balance for me. So it's best I call this one. You have two overloads of the constructor of the super class. So I want the one that will set my account type and what? The balance. So I do this one. You can see it takes what? Two parameters. It takes two parameters. Then on the next line, you see the super keyword again. The super keyword again. Remember when we're in one of those classes, when you had more than one constructor and we're interested in another constructor, we use the what? The this keyword with the parentheses of the what? The constructor to call the constructor. But this time, so this is what, if you are within the same class and you are calling another constructor, use the what? The this plus this, just like a normal method call. But if you are within a different class or a subclass and want to call the constructor of the super class, use the what? The super keyword. So super, then just like a method call, the account here, this constructor takes what? Two parameters. So when I call it, I must provide what? Two parameters. So it's the same here. I'm calling it and I'm providing what? Two parameters to it. So this super will call the super class constructor, and the super class constructor will do this initialization. It will set the account type to this and the balance to this. So let's come here. So now when I come here, I'm getting an error because when I created a what? Parameterized constructor, I've not provided any default constructor. And you said anytime you create a parameterized constructor, you lose the privilege of getting what? The default constructor. You lose that privilege of getting a default constructor. So that's why you are getting the error. So I could either solve by what? Creating a default constructor for it or ignore it. So let me just create a default constructor for it. Generate. Now there's no error. Then here I'll set the allowance, but here I'll use the parameterized one. So the account type, student account. Then the balance, maybe 200 Ghana. Where is the money? 200 Ghana. Then I set allowance to what? 500. Then the student deposit this amount. But before this, I would like to know the balance of the student before I do the deposit. So SUT. Then here I'll just say student dot get balance. So this one gets me the what? The balance before I'll deposit. So this one get me the balance. Then after that, I also get the balance. So I'm only interested in the balance. I don't want to get everything. So here to the same thing. After depositing, I'll get the balance. Let's save it and try it. Let me comment this, guys, so that we just see the effect for the students alone. So initially, the initial balance was what? 200. Then we deposited 300. Was it 300? Let me see. 3,000. So the initial it was 200. We deposited 3,000, but there was an allowance of 500. So the allowance took effect plus the deposit. Are you getting it? So I've combined two concepts here. We did what? Method overloading. Now, when you're overloading a method, not overload, overriding. Overriding is the same method in the superclass, the same parameters, the same, everything the same, but the only thing different is the body. So the 4 parts or the 5 parts of the method, that's the only part that changes when you are what? Overriding a method. Anytime you're overriding a method, it's the same signature, but the body is what? Different. That's overriding. Questions?